welcome to the Lawson Coaches Show. My name is Coach Stewart. I'm here with the fantastic Sarah Galloway. She is assistant coach for girls cheerleading. I can't say girls cheerleading. Cheerleading. We're progressive at the school, and I'm a fan of all cheerleaders. They're fantastic athletes. Look, tell me just a little bit about your own season. I think you had a fantastic run with all the sports. Long season. Tell us about it.
Football was Friday nights, pretty easy.
Right.
Practices, we are not cheerleading background, but we learned the ropes pretty quickly, and we love the squad. And we have to not say the girls because we do have Elijah, and we love Elijah very much. But it's just been fun to have a front row seat to the games, football games to basketball games. Basketball season's been a little bit longer, a little bit harder on the team because it's just been a lot of time because we're cheering girls games and boys games, and so. But we've worked through things and we've learned what we need to do next year to make things a little smoother and easier, and go from there.
One of the things that I would have to say I see probably comes from the entire discipline of cheerleading is just how dedicated you guys are. I don't think people realize it. I mean, you guys are really 365. Cheerleading is, when you look at football season and then you add in basketball season, like you said, you're doing girls and boys games, and they're the energy bringers. I mean, they're keeping everybody up. I mean, it's a lot of work. How do you navigate the tiredness, the crankiness, sometimes the attitudes? How do you get through that?
Sometimes we have to have kids sit down and take a break, or we give them a week off if we think they're super tired and just need a break. We do have the luxury of having several cheerleaders, and so we can rotate for basketball. We can rotate kids if they just absolutely need to catch up on work or need a break from just the crazy schedule of basketball. But we have learned to adjust. We've learned personalities. We've learned when they are moody and the best way to handle the moods. And
moody teens, who would have thought?
I know, but we have gotten to really know them a whole lot. So when the season ended with basketball, we were kind of glad that the rat race was over, but really sad to not spend as much time with them because we're in the cars with them and we're in all the games with them and practices and workouts, and so yeah. But
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I'm also a boy mom, so the girl.
You have no daughters, so
this
is your daughters now.
I have daughters now.
Well, they're what? They are a landscape unto themselves. But I tell you what, I've got 2 girls and a boy, so it's wonderful all the way around. Let me ask you this: where do you see cheer going next year versus where it's been this year? What changes would you like to implement? Things of that nature.
Well, we've talked about different things like having a larger squad for the football season because the field can handle it, the crowd can handle it,
right.
And then possibly taking the larger squad and dividing it into 2 for basketball so that you're not having to cheer every basketball game.
Right.
Giving kids a break where they can work if they need to work or catch up on schoolwork if they need to catch up on it. Because we've always said your commitment to cheer is your commitment, and you're also a student, but you have to be both. And so you can't flake out on us just because of this. Like, you've got to learn to balance the schedules, and so we're hoping next year to make it a little easier to basketball with possibly a smaller squad divided.
Gotcha. Oh, that's an excellent idea. That is the hard part about coaching is sometimes you have to make a hard decision.
Yeah.
I always like to let the kids know you make that decision yourself. I just kind of follow through with it. But tell us about maybe how do you impress them? Because I saw a very consistent group of hardworking girls every time I went to a basketball. And Elijah. Thank you. Hardworking girls and Elijah. Hey, I love you, brother. You kicked butt this season.
And we need a new Elijah because Elijah's graduating. We want 2 Elijahs next year.
I would love that. I would love that. One of the things that I wanted to say is, how do you keep them all focused and working towards that common goal, which is to bring joy and happiness to cheer, keep cheer moving?
Yes. Well, we've learned personalities. It's just been, we know when they need a break and we give them the break, and they can realize when the crowd is into it, it has an effect on how they cheer, and how they cheer has an effect on the crowd. And so when they start to see that, it's when we see the consistency. And when we see that there are issues, it's okay to step back and say, hey, you need a break. The best thing for the court is for you to have a break so that we can have a good squad. And so we've had flexibility in numbers to be able to do some things like that. But the most important thing is that they know that they impact the team, they impact the game a lot of times, and they come up the fans. So
do you guys see yourselves going to those major competitions like Bring It On and stuff like that? I don't know. I love the movie. So.
We offered. Hickman wants to do a Bring It On cheer. It's cold out here. The birds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've offered a few this year, and some of them wanted to do it, some haven't. So we haven't pushed it this year. I do think next year we will incorporate more tumble, more stunting, in hopes of having at least part of our squad who would want to do competitions. Because we were told by Mark, the athletic director for MNPS.
Mark North.
Yes. So we were told by him that we should be at competition from what he sees of our squad. So we know we've got the squad to do competition.
Yeah.
We just have to get the commitment.
That's wonderful. I mean, I don't think you can beat that with a bat. What would be the message you would like to get to any girl joining Lawson? Like, I can tell you what my message is for girls soccer, but I'll save that for when I'm interviewed. Tell me.
He's going to interview you.
I know. Yes, there you go. What would be the message you would want to send to girls returning to cheer, girls that want to try out for cheer for the first time? What is the Lawson message you want them to understand?
That we are a team, and that we function together as a team, and that it impacts when you quit or fall short, and so they have to realize it's a time commitment. It is a very long time commitment. And so in order to commit to cheer, you have to be really, really willing to commit, because it's not just a football season. It's basically fall all the way through spring, and we're cheering regularly. So, we have to commit. We have to be a squad that's united and ready to bring it on.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, let me ask you this. I guess I could say final question. What sort of fun bonding trips do you do to bring? Because, teams are going to bond together during work, but it's oftentimes it's that downtime, that silliness, that chance to just blow off steam and be teenagers.
They very much want to do things outside of school. So this year we've just sort of been feeling our way and learning, and so they want to go to try to do a camp during the summer and do some summer activities like swim parties. So we'll definitely be looking at ways for them to bond before football starts, so that we know each other well, we trust each other, and that we're on the squad.
Wonderful. Well, look, I'm not going to hold you any longer than I have. I think this has been absolutely a wonderful chance to interview you guys. I personally saw how hard you guys work during football and basketball season, and I'm really, really big on all of the kids that contribute to the culture of the school. When I was working the girls out this past summer, I saw cheerleaders, I saw volleyball players, I saw football players, and then once we moved into Lawson, I saw dancers, I saw theater kids, and I was like, my God, look at all these kids coming to enrich themselves, but enrich all of us, offer us something to cheer, to have fun, and I'm the biggest homer on the planet. Any place I work gets my undying love and attention. So I appreciate everything you guys have done with cheer. It's been wonderful. It's been great to see. It wasn't without its trials and travails, I'm aware, but you guys really, really brought it.
And my hope is too that they can help garner deeper school spirit. That kids are going to be pouring to the games, wanting to come because they're fun. And so cheerleaders have a big, big part in that.
Massive.
In dress-up days, and, pep rallies. And so I'm hoping next year we'll hit that.
Oh, you will. Well, hey, thank you for your time. I appreciate you joining the Coaches Show. Thank you so much. All right, now we're here with Coach Brian Lilly, head coach of the awesome Lawson Lightning football team. Coach, thanks for coming on the Coaches Show. We appreciate you more than you know. Give us the rundown of the season, man. Tell us some good stuff. Tell us about how you felt about everything.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people know that we started off our football season, summer training at Hillwood. We were there up until June 1st, or June, whenever that started, 5th or 6th, until August 1st. And so we were there for 2 whole months. And, I think that was one of the biggest things is just to be able to, start where we were in our humble beginnings, and to make sure those young men knew where we came from. And then we came over to Lawson. Obviously, we hit the ground running. Great, jamboree, scrimmages. Started off the season 3-0, and it was pure jubilation. It was just, it was one of those things where we were just super excited, and we knew what we had. We also knew that we weren't as good as what our record looked like. It was great to be 3-0, but we knew that there was a lot of testing. And I think a lot of times whenever we were out there on the field, we fought, we competed. We ended up in season 4-6, which was really good to be able to do that. At the same time, we have bigger goals than that. It was realistic to be able to have that, but at the same time, we know that we got to continue to build off of that. And we want to get it to the point where we're doing everything that we can in our being to be able to be one of those teams that's a perennial powerhouse, right? Like whenever we're scoring touchdowns, like Free Pine Wednesday, just being able to get it whenever we want it. And so, I think it's a big deal for us. We won the Freshman City Championship, which was huge. It was massive for our freshmen. We had 41 freshmen on the team. So it was really a big deal. It was a great first season to build off of. Realistically speaking, not where we need to be, but heading in the right direction.
Let me ask you this, because you did have the freshman championship, and it looks as though all the way around, the freshmen, any school can say this, but I've never seen it so vividly put out as the freshmen are the future, like what we see at James Lawson. I mean, when you look at volleyball, girls soccer, boys and girls basketball, football, everything, probably wrestling, I don't know, I'll interview Coach Terrell here soon enough. Everything seems as though it revolves around getting our freshmen's feet wet pretty fast and pretty early, and them actually responding. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think one of the things of us is we didn't want to do a disservice to the seniors that we had on our team, right? We didn't want to forsake the present for the future, or the future for the present, vice versa. We wanted to be able to cater to both. And so our freshmen were on one side of the ball, while our varsity was on the other side of the ball. We would switch during practice, so our varsity guys were coaching, varsity coaches were coaching all 9 through 12. A lot of times people have just like 2 freshman coaches that coach the freshmen. We know it's important to be able to have our best coaches coaching our future. And so it was really cool to be able to have that. But, the best person was going to end up on the field. We had a couple of freshmen that ended up starting for us, starting games for us. The redhead, he got all city, all region, started 8 games as a freshman, which was awesome. And Juan Taylor, he played running back, and there was a quarterback came in and played, Lawrence Patterson. There's a lot of those guys that played. Anton Wilson threw a touchdown. We had a lot of injuries early, and that kind of paved way for that. And I think that the biggest deal for us though is to be able to understand that we knew what we wanted to build to. The first time I ever met those freshmen, I said, we're going to win the Freshman City Championship. I know this is a big deal, but we got the guys that can do it, right? Just seeing them move, seeing them do mat drills the first time, I knew we could do it. And so the future is bright. We have a smaller rising junior class, and so we're going to need those freshmen to be able to kind of bridge the gap. And it wasn't one of those things where we were going to, like I said, our seniors, 15 seniors we had, we really appreciate them. We refer to them as the founding members of the Lawson football team, right? Because this is their program, and they're going to lay the foundation and be what those freshmen remember whenever they get up there. So the team, we didn't turn our back to anybody, but we knew that we needed. It was a big deal. There was, it's also like whenever you acquire these freshmen, like it's even playing field, right? I just got into a school. Some schools, coaches have been there for X amount of years. We all get our freshmen at the same time, so it's an even playing field that we can start from scratch, and everybody's playing with the same hand. And in terms of time, and so that was the biggest deal, being able to do that. We were very much proud of those guys.
I think that's probably the ticket, is that if we were all playing with the even hand type of situation and kind of all came over all together. Of course, we have a special relationship between football and girls soccer because we're basically practicing side by side, different fields, but we're watching. You guys would come over. I made it a point, almost mandatory, that the football players got in for free during our games, our home games, because they got the girls hyped. They'd come off of practice, they'd be tired, but they always showed us love, and we fully appreciated that. What do you see is the immediate future next season?
Well, I think that there's going to be a youth movement, right? Like there's going to be we have a pretty big rising senior class and a pretty big rising sophomore class, and so I think it's going to be a youth movement. There's going to be a lot of those guys that were freshmen that are going to be sophomores that are going to play a good amount. But the biggest step for us to do is to be able to get to the playoffs. That's the next step, right? We're close to being 500, but at the end of the day, that's the goal, is to be able to get to the playoffs. And then from there, what we do in the playoffs, that's kind of the next goal from there. We just got to be able to get in there and just kind of, I think that's what our volleyball team's done, what our soccer team's done, what our basketball team's done, wrestling, like those things. They've done that, and they've shown that we have a building for it, right? Like Field of Dreams, if you build it, they'll come. I think that's a big deal, but we have to. Football is obviously a beast, right? And we play in a region that has phenomenal teams, right? The 3 Wilco teams with our other Metro teams that are in there with us. I mean, it's tough, but it's going to make us so much better in the long term to be able to play against great coaches at those schools that are all men that I respect highly, but being able to go out there and compete with those guys on Friday nights and show our guys where we need to get to, I think that's the biggest deal. But like going back to what you said, we got to get to the playoffs. We got to be able to win a couple of region games and be able to get in there and then, get hot at the right time and see what happens.
One of the things that I got to experience when I played football, I went to Lilly, full disclosure, so anybody who thinks I'm a turncoat, I've got my Hillwood bona fides. I'm good. But one of the greatest athletic achievements I ever was a part of in sport is when Hillwood in 1989 beat Whites Creek. Whites Creek might as well have been University of Alabama back then. I mean, they were a city power, they were state power. And they just walked into a buzzsaw. That's what I would wish for any and all teams, is that opportunity. How do you get the guys to get to, for me, the mantra that I said to the girls all season, and we finally got that victory when we did it to Fairview, was you have to beat somebody you're not supposed to beat.
Yeah.
You have to beat somebody you're not supposed to beat. And that's when this game really gets fun. When you put all your training, you put all your hard work together at once, and then you realize they're just another person across the way from you, and you can dominate. How do you get your guys to that point? Because that's what I want, that victory.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things we have going for us is, I don't know, when we started out 3-0, even though those were some teams in region below us, like I don't know if we were supposed to win those games, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We talk about they, like it doesn't matter. We love our people, but at the same time, like, who are they? Right? Who's saying that? They are saying, you can't win this, right? Somebody said it couldn't be done. You would chuckle and reply, maybe it shouldn't, but we wouldn't say so till we try, right? That's my English there, right? But it's one of those things that I think for us is the guys fought, right? Every game, even if we're not playing well, even if we're giving up points, even if we're not scoring, right? Like we still we fought, and I think that's the biggest thing is we're going to go into some games against some people that are really tough, and we got to go with a win-0 mentality, right? Like a lot of coaches talk about that, as cliche as it is. Each week is a different week, right? And it's a win-0 mentality each week. Doesn't matter who you put out there on Friday night, it could be a Thursday. The ball goes out there, the ball's kicked off. It's time to go to work, no matter who it is. And if we're I don't do spreads for high school, if we're favored by 30 or we're the underdog by 30. That doesn't matter until somebody gets hit in the mouth and they got to make a play, right? And so we got to do a better job of continuing to build depth in case of injuries occur next season, like early in our season, with
massive
running back breaking his leg week 1, quarterback turns ACL week 2. I think that it's going to help this team have to understand how it is to just continue to rise in the sense of adversity when it's in your face. So I was proud of him for that. But going back to what you said, coaches, it's just there's not a certain person, right? Like we want to know each week. That means we would go 10-0. That means we go X amount to win the state championship. Realistically, is it going to happen? I don't know. But what I do know is if we take that 1-0 each week, it's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And that's what we got to do is fight every time we're on the field and give it our all and never give up. Never give up. So.
Let me ask you this. You have a great thing that you say, family. I want you to explain that because I think anybody watching this show, anybody that's ever come to your parent coaches meeting, whatever, and they hear that, it's a wonderful thing. And it's a concept that desperately needed to be introduced to the school. So give us a little more about that.
So basically our core standards are work hard, improve every day, being selfish, be the best, right? Work hard is pretty self-explanatory, right? Give it your best every single time you get out there. Improve every day, getting better, getting worse. Being selfish is natural, and getting us to be selfish, right? So we have to be unselfish and be the best. That's what we strive to be. But then we break it out with family on 3. Family is at the bottom of the core standard because it's the foundation. The great foundation, things can be successful with a foundation that maybe have cracks in it or whatever it may be. It's in a sense, it's bound for health, right? And so family, I heard it that PJ Fleck, the head coach of Minnesota, was talking about at the time. He may not be the guy that made it, but this is the first time I heard it. And it was an acronym, forget about me, I love you, right? So family in itself is blood, right? We know what we do for our brother. But forget about me, I love you. It goes back to being unselfish, right? I'm gonna forget about myself and my own selfish ambition because I love you so much and I'm gonna do my job. That it may be that I have to spill the counter for you to make the tackle, or I have to be able to take on the double team for you to be able to make the tackle, or I have to be able to pull and get that block so we can spring you for a touchdown, right? That's a big deal. But also, forget about me, I love you would be that I'm going to make smart decisions off the field because I love my brother so much. I'm not going to forsake what we got going with our team right now that may be making a bad decision from there. And so, we talk about that. It's family on 3, and then each certain amount of time we always remind them, what does that mean, right? What does that mean? Forget about me, I love you. So it's really like a double entendre, like Jay-Z's going through, right? It's 2 different things, but it's a big deal to us, and it's at the bottom of the pyramid because it's the foundation of our program.
Awesome. Well, if there was maybe a point or two you wanted to make before we leave, because I always love talking with you. You have great insights into sport, and coach to coach, I like to always talk to different coaches. What would be your overall vision for not just the Lawson football player, but the Lawson student?
Well, I think, this is a great question. I'm so excited to be able to see the young men that are on our football team, the 91 young men that are on our football team, that we only see 20 in off season because so many of them are in different sports, right? We got a handful in baseball, a handful in wrestling, a handful in track, and a lot that are in basketball, right? To be able to see those guys out there on the basketball court, and I'm right there courtside just turning up for them, right? At the wrestling meets, at the baseball games. I used to be a head track coach, right? I'd love to see our guys do more, right? I played 4 sports in high school, and I love that, and I think it's so vital for me. And that's the biggest thing, is to be able to be so ingrained in doing your best for Lawson that you're doing that in the classroom, you're doing it socially, with interactions on a daily with your peer group, you're doing it with in your sport field, whatever that may be. That's what I think we strive for, to be the best version of myself in everything I do. I think too many times it's lost on the fact of just being mediocre, right? Just being okay. I'm okay with being okay, and I don't think that's okay, right?
Right.
I think that kids get too caught up in what the culture says, right? That the music they listen to are very artistic, but a lot of the lyrics that come in there are not beneficial to someone being successful, right? Their access to drugs and alcohol, pornography, and everything that is not good for them is so easy access, right? It's understanding right from wrong and setting myself up for success. boys and girls, making the right decisions, right? We talk about that all the time, is what is a right decision, what's a wrong decision. A lot of it comes with what are the perceived and the ultimate consequences that come with whatever decision I make. And so being thoughtful and having the wherewithal to understand that it's kind of like kids play video games all the time. Nothing wrong with video games, anything in moderation is fine, but like they play some role-playing games where it's like everything you do here makes you good, everything you do here makes you bad. Like that's life, right? They took that from there, and so that's the biggest thing we wanted to do. And I love being able to support Miss Galloway and Miss Hickman and the cheerleaders. Like I'm the guy that I'm at everything. I try my best with my wife and my son to go to everything, support them and cheer. Coach Dial and I stand at the back door every day and greet people into the school. Right? We want people to be seen, we want people to be heard, we want people to be known, right? That's a big deal. And when I know people care about me, and I know I'm seen, I know I'm heard, and I know I'm needed, I'm wanted, I'm necessary, I think that is what allows kids to just grab hold of what they got going and excel, right? There's a guy that told a story about this young man took his SAT and he made a 1480 out of 1600. And his mom was like, "Did you cheat on that?" He said, "No, I tried, but I couldn't. I didn't cheat on it." Right. So he next thing you know, the teachers see a difference in him, right? He'd always kind of been slacking, and he ended up being a successful businessman. And like 12 to 15 years later, there was a note that came in the mail from the college board, and his wife said, "You know, open it." He opens it up, and it said he was one of 13 people that got the wrong score. He really made, instead of a 1480, really made a 740. Wow. And so people said, he was like, people thought when I made the 1480, that's what changed it. No, it was I started believing in myself and believing that I could do the 1480. Right? It didn't matter what I ended up making, it was that I started believing in myself. And that's what we need our kids to do, right? Is to believe in themselves, to be the best version of themselves, and not to be okay being okay. Right? Yeah. There's nothing good about being like just to be mediocre. Right? And not everybody's gonna be the best, but just strive for it. I'm long-winded, and I love to talk about this. I'm passionate about young people, right? Like making an impact on the next generation. That's why we do what we do. That's why we have the coaches we hire to be with us. It's because they can do that. They have these relationships. They have hearts of gold. And they want to be able to make a difference. So I think that would be the biggest thing for me, and just to continue to see our student body. We want to win everything we do, but at the same time, we want people to get out of sports what we all got out of sports. The reason why we're in it right now.
Well, one of the things that I love about sports in general is it teaches you the hard lesson. You can work as hard as you want to and lose. You can come out there with the wrong mentality, God only knows. You try to cut as many of the variables out before you get out there in the first place, but you can lose, and that is life. And how you lose is very important. I was at the basketball game and reported a shoot, and one of the things Coach Froden said on Saturday night when the game was basically out of reach is he called timeout. I think there wasn't much time at all, and it seemed like to the casual viewer a silly, petty timeout. But no, he literally told his team, "Okay, we're going to be classy. We're going to lose with class. We're going to act like we have some sense. We're going to be," and these are integral lessons that you learn from playing sport that really serve you for the rest of your days. But Coach, it was fantastic as always talking with you. You know what I mean? And we appreciate you coming on short notice. And episode 2 of the Coaches Show, Coach Lilly.
Keep doing it. We shock the world. I mean, that's what we do.
Keep on
right, Bellevue.
Amen. Have a good one. Aren't you the head coach?